named Kwekwe. We'll be highlighting that and also focusing on matters of COVID-19. And I know Chelsea, we're yet to ask you, fine, the best team did win there. I just want to know, has the money hit the account yet? Pesa imeingia kwa account.
Ama tusiwasumbue.
Yes, but anyway, revel in the winner there. Well, as Manchester United, we may not have sailed through, but hey, there's always another chance and another time to do it. I just wonder what Arsenal has to say in regard to that matter. Those are just some of the highlights of what has made it on the front page and also the back page of the Standard this morning. Jane?
Now let's have a quick look at what the People Daily have for us. Not too busy, at least for the People Daily. Two main stories here. Number one, panic as Raila's chopper crashes, and they've gone ahead to give the timelines. And of course, the main read is why Uhuru's Kisumu tour is a turning point, with huge expectations from many people. And you know, for many years, Nyanza region was viewed as a stronghold of Kenya's opposition politics, but the handshake between President Kenyatta and Raila Odinga has ushered a new chapter, and especially so when it comes to development. That is basically the front page of People's Daily this morning. Maybe you could have a look at the Star before we get to those details.
Yes, now interesting. The only story that is missing from all those other dailies that we have sampled, Jain, the Standard, the Daily Nation, as well as the People Daily, is that particular slogan that I started off with ITH with. Rastafari is spirituality and bang is our sacrament. Those are the words of the Rastafarian Society of Kenya President Jean Agre, and this is during an interview that was conducted by this particular paper that I'm sampling for you this morning. There's been a lot of debate on whether to legalize, marijuana smoking in public places. Now, the Rastafari Society has been at the fore, saying that indeed this is a holy herb, and for them this is a sacrament. So we'll be giving you details as we continue in the focusing on stories that are making headlines in the last 24 hours. There's nothing new on this front page of the Star. Everything else has been mentioned. So we might as well get into the details, because that was the only missing link. Other than just an update, you remember some Kenyans were defrauded, Jane, in a Ponzi scheme, and investors have lost hundreds of millions of shillings. Now, if you had gone online, there was something called, or rather termed as, Amazon web worker.
Yes.
And it has been established that it is a Ponzi scheme that drained potential investors of millions of shillings. Now, the DCI made an arrest of a lady here who has been linked to the mastermind of this Ponzi scheme. And they go by the name Stacey Marie Parker Blake. Stacey Marie Parker Blake, who's been linked to the Amazon web worker. And this is after she was actually nabbed as she arrived from the United States of America just at the airport. I think the DCI is doing something, and I hope that this prosecution goes through. You can imagine you have made all those investments only for it to just go up in smoke. But then again, as Kenyans, we need to be a little bit more patient when it comes to investments. Nothing comes easy. So that is a follow-up that has found itself on the page of the Star. Now, maybe we can get into those further details. Jean?
That story has also been captured here on the Daily Nation and People Daily as well. And they went on to add the fact that Safaricom had actually managed to freeze some 42 million Kenya shillings that was being held in the app's pay bill account that they had put for people to send this money. You know, when they were promising clients, if you invest 37 shillings daily or 1,500 monthly, you will be getting 300 daily and 11,700, and you also get 351,000 Kenya shillings monthly for investments that are worth 100,000 Kenya shillings. So that investigations are still ongoing, mind you. And here on the People's Daily, they highlight that this woman in the Amazon scam is a revered U.S. consular. Imagine that. Stacey Marie Parker Blake. You can read more of that there on the People Daily and the Daily Nation. Now, let's go to this particular story concerning the chopper that dropped former Premier Raila Odinga at Kudu Primary School, but soon after crashed in its attempts to take off. So looking at the timelines, the former Premier left Kisumu Airport at 17 minutes past 3 p.m. About, say, 15 minutes later, at 3:32 p.m., the chopper lands at Kudu Primary School, and Uhuru's chopper lands shortly after. At 3:58, Raila's chopper crashes in attempts to leave the school for Yala Township Primary School. So far, no one was injured, as per the information that we have. No one of the 4 that were on board the chopper as it was attempting to take off was injured. The captain said only one of his passengers, that is one Mr. Peter Mbeka, has been complaining of chest pains but is stable and waiting to be taken to hospital. So far, they have secured the scene and they are waiting for investigators, the aviation investigators to be specific, to come and make an incident report and try to get to the root of the matter and understand why this chopper crashed just minutes after it landed and was attempting to take off. So more of that is there on the Daily Nation as well as the People Daily. Rain.
I want to change this and look at matters of politics. Now, mainstream media focused on the coronation of National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi there. He was said to be the spokesperson of Mount Kenya region. Now it seems what is coming out clear is that Mount Kenya East and Mount Kenya West is pulling in different directions. Let me put this into perspective for you. East largely deals with Meru, Tharaka and the likes, while West deals with Kirinyaga, Kiambu and such. So now, just after, or rather coming in the wake of that particular coronation, is that Meru Governor Kiraitu Murungi hosted, a couple of Mount Kenya politicians there last Saturday. Key Mount Kenya East key politicians, and this particular ceremony was dubbed as his homecoming. Now, it is in essence a second homecoming for him, because for the governor he had another homecoming when he was elected the second governor of Meru in 2017, and he's also had others in his political career, including when he was elected member of parliament. But what came out clearly is that the significance of this particular homecoming coming after the coronation of J. Muturi there. That's the National Assembly Speaker there, as the spokesperson of Mount Kenya region. Words and quoted by the Meru governor there, he says, and they've been adamant not to recognize the coronation of Justice Muturi there as the Mount Kenya region spokesman. And he says, go and tell them that we are ready to chart a new path. Referring to a team, basically Kikuyu politicians led by Governor Mwangi wa Iria of Murang'a, Mutahi Kahiga of Nyeri, Kinyanjui of Nakuru. They have been vehement in their denunciation of Muturi's new crest of glory in the region. So what does this mean for Mount Kenya region? A year to the retirement of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Quoted alongside Muturi is Peter Munya, the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture, who questions, and I put it as it is. I hear some people have been declared spokesman of Mount Kenya. Where is such a seat in the Constitution? Yes, that's a question that has been posed by Peter Munya, Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture there. And Mount Kenya East political class has been claiming that it has played second fiddle for too long when it comes to matters of politics. Is indeed Mount Kenya united or divided? That's a rhetorical question, but if you think that indeed we are divided or still singing the same tune, remember we are live and we welcome your feedback. You can reach us on our official Twitter handle at KBC Channel 1 News. What do you think with just 1 year to go when it comes to matters of politics within the Mount Kenya region? Who will carry the day? Or rather, which side will carry the day? Mount Kenya East seemingly wants to pull in an opposite direction from the Mount Kenya West, having or rather following the coronation of National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi.
Now, just to add on to a bit of what is happening still in the Mount Kenya region, as is here on the People Dairy. Woo! Hala, sijakula walu leo asubuhi. You know, when you eat waru, ndio mnaongeanga na ulimi ikiwa inapepea. Now, Muturi says he backs move for the Mount Kenya party, right?
Yep.
Now, of course, his coronation is still something that is quite the conversation among the population. So it has continued to elicit unprecedented wrangles in the area, with the 22 succession politics taking center stage. So yesterday, while he was speaking at St. Paul's ACK Cathedral in Embu, he said that he backed the calls for some leaders from Mount Kenya East, okay? From the Mount Kenya East region to have its own political party for the unity of the region. He further on went to say that the push by a section of the local leaders to have a Meru governor, that is Kiraito Moronge. Excuse my Kikuyu tongue.
You see, that's
Sijakula waru.
That's where we actually draw the line.
Sijakula waru.
Tafadhali. Kiraito Moronge. Bas.
Ah, yeah. I withdraw and apologize.
Thank you very much.
Meru Governor Kiraito Moronge to revive the party, that is the Party of National Unity, PNU, is something that should be considered seriously, because it is a good move that will ensure leaders in the area are united in one party. And these sentiments come a day after Kiraito and a section of leaders from the region threatened to walk alone if their Gikuyu counterparts fail to support them for the coveted seat.
It's a high time. I think there's a wind blowing. There's a wind
very
blowing
strong
across
wind.
Mount Kenya region, but we'll be keeping tabs on what happens. You see, our role is to inform you on what is happening, but clearly from the sentiments there that have been recorded both by our TV as well as our website, where you can get further details, that is www.kbc.co.ke, it seems indeed there is a wind that is blowing across the Mount Kenya region. Now, if you did not know, we have Mount Kenya East and Mount Kenya West seemingly not speaking the same language or dancing to the same tune.
And that has been something that has been ringing quite loud, because even most of the headlines last week were West versus East, Mount Kenya East or Mount Kenya West, you know, just creating and letting you know that they are on opposite sides at the moment, and a situation that has been catalyzed by the coronation of Justin Muturi. But at that particular point, we take a very quick breather. We'll be back to continue with more of what the papers have for us this morning. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.
Good morning, Kenya, right here on KBC Channel 1, and I'm Regina Manyara. Now, we were looking at those stories that are making headlines that have been making headlines in the last 24 hours. We just stopped off at the issue of succession politics, but now keenly focusing on Mount Kenya region there. Now, crossing over to rather not matters politics, so to speak. Actually, it is politics. However, it boils down to the issue of matters of elections, issues of IEBC. When the commissioners have been picked, are all factions, or rather all stratas, inclusive? Now, this is a question that has been pegged here on issues of inclusivity in as far as IEBC commissioners are concerned and slots, and because the youth are demanding at least 2 IBC slots for enhanced representation. Now, the lobby group says young people have been discriminated against in decision-making platforms. These are just sentiments that have been shared by this is Kenya Young CEO Forums that wants the panel chaired by Elizabeth Muli to ensure youth get a chance to represent their interests in the electoral agency. Youth are the leaders of tomorrow, but tomorrow needs to be now. We need to be seated at the decision-making table so that we can present our interests. That is what the Young CEOs Forum want the panel chaired by Elizabeth Muli to ensure. And they say that this is a selection for the appointment of commissioners to the IBC election boundaries that is already shortlisting. 669 applicants who made applications to that position. So they are lobbying that the panel also puts into consideration that the youth want to be actively present, in decision making. And I think that's a good move, Jane. What do you think?
Absolutely. We stop this narrative, leaders of tomorrow. How about leaders of now, man? Start now to prepare for that future that we want, And just the other day, I was, one of our colleagues here was just on the streets asking people, why is it that the youth shy away from politics of the country? Is it a question of them shying away or not being involved from the get-go and being told, you're the leaders of tomorrow, and when in terms of elections, who are used for violence? It is the youth who are left to suffer with the collateral damage as a result. It is still the youth. So we need to do better by our youth, and it starts with the leaders that are there. Stop talking about them being leaders of tomorrow, but leaders of tomorrow start now. Ama vipi? Kabisa. Now, speaking of tomorrow, it is Madaraka Day, and there's this piece here that talks of how Ruto was snabbed in Uhuru Nyanza, and then also in regards to the preparation and commissioning and launching of some of the projects that His Excellency has been doing since his arrival in Kisumu. So the Deputy President will attend the 58th Madaraka Day celebrations in Kisumu, but will not accompany President Kenyatta and his host Raila Odinga on project launches. This emerged yesterday as Ruto allies claimed that he had been sidelined in the preparations for the entire function despite him being a second in command. DP allies also went ahead to say that Mr. Raila Odinga and His Excellency have taken center stage when it comes to the planning, while DP has continued to be ignored, and this was further confirmed by State House spokesperson, that is Kanzedena Mararo, who did not mention DP even, as she confirmed that Mr. Kenyatta and will be in the company of Raila Odinga and other local leaders once they arrive in Kisumu. And this was further also confirmed by the Director of Communication in the DP's office, Mr. Emmanuel Talam, who confirmed that the DP would only attend tomorrow's event, but would not accompany President Kenyatta in a tour of the various government projects in the region. So what does this say in regards to our leadership? That is the question that has been put here. Now, speaking of leadership, Ray, there's a piece here about Kajiado. Kajiado Governor Joseph Olelenku is on the spot after the closure of a major dump site. Now, this dump site, which sits on an estimated 5 acres, he ordered the closure of this particular dump site a month ago. Finally, it has been closed down. Now, this has left hundreds of uncollected garbage all over in the areas of Ongata Rongai, Kiserian, and Ngong towns. It has also left hundreds of families that were dependent on this dump collection as a source of livelihood. Now, they have been left high and dry. Why? The closure of this dump site has already taken effect, and the idea was to renovate and rehabilitate this particular 5-acre piece of land, and it was supposed to be converted into a public park. before this idea of a public park came into place, they had already mobilized resources after an Italian donor agency had committed to some 2.1 billion for the integrated waste energy plant. But since this was delayed, they resorted to a park, a public park for the people. Now, there is no public park. There is no place to dump garbage for the areas of Kiserian, Ongata Rongai and Gong towns. Now the pressure continues to pile on Governor Ole Lenku. But Mr. Lenku said that the plan to relocate the dump site is being watered down by political competitors who he accused of paying individuals to litter the town to malign his name. That is just one of the projects that have stalled in Kajiado. Let's not even talk about the roads, and especially the main roads that feed off the Magadi Road.
I'm wondering if I should comment as just a Kenyan who's questioning that particular story, or a resident of Kajiado County, because in his tenure, I have not seen the governor do any projects, and he's saying that his political detractors are paying people to litter the town. The town is already littered. It has been littered for years during his tenure, and unfortunately the move for the market, the plan to move the market, the plan to move the bus station up in Kware, the plan to actually tarmac the road have been used as items in politics. Campaign tools. Over and over again. The question is, as constituents, what are we going to do about it?
You remember just a couple of weeks ago, there was some demonstrations that were happening.
Yes.
And then what happened after that? They brought that maram, ikamwagwa at one of the main roads there, ikakanyagwa na, not even a road roller, easy za kuplow lands in the farm. That is what was used to sort of flatten the dirt that they had brought around that area. And right now it is dusty.
Actually, when you drive that road, there's no need to actually take your car to the car wash.
It's pointless.
As if you have been participating in the WRC Safari Rally, and yet you were just driving from your home to the office.
And mind you, there was an MCA there, I think one of the ones who were hopeful for a seat or two, that is the one who was in charge of that dirt that was poured there. And again, it being used as a campaign tool.
And the challenge goes to constituents right now as we're planning for 2022. I think it's the high time that we focus not on what you're going to give us, but what you have done. Let your work speak for you. Let's not look at which community you come from or which family you come from. Let's focus on development. I remember in a report that was made public around 2018-2019, Kejuado County was identified as a fast-growing county, and even in terms of revenue collection, right? But you look at the fiscal planning that has been made in Kitengela in comparison to Ongata Rongai, there's a huge difference.
Disparity.
People have put up businesses right smack in the middle, next to the road. Like, you try to swerve to avoid hitting a boda rider or a goat, because that happens, you will land into someone's, biashara ya nyanya, But if you look at what fiscal planning has been done in Kitengela, you wonder, were they the same people who are doing this planning? I think going into the elections, come 2022, constituents, not just in Kajiado County, need to put tribe aside, nepotism aside, focus on development. Let us look at what these leaders have done for us.
Yeah.
Not because of the promises that they make, but what they have done. And if it does not commensurate our needs and wants as a people, we need to drop them and pick others who can, because we can. I remember I met a civil rights person who told me, unfortunately, Kenyans think that being given the services that they receive is a favor being done unto them. What they do not know is that They are actually the employers of government officials in elected posts. Why? Their taxes, pay them. And if you're going to follow the paper trail, then you need to know who is in charge. Wanjiku is, and time is right for that kind of mentality. Wanjiku is not someone to be used to propel people to higher positions. Wanjiku now should think for herself. And Wanjiku is you and I. Let's make the right decisions.
We have to do better by ourselves. We cannot just be doing the same thing and expecting different results. Do different to get different.
Yeah.
Now, coming to the Daily Nation, counties are supposed to start getting the second dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine, at least if you got the first jab, as of Wednesday of this week. And this is information from the Health Ministry. Dr. Willis Akwale, the chair of the National COVID-19 Task Force, yesterday told the Daily Nation that the doses will be distributed today, between today and tomorrow, and the vaccination will kick off on Wednesday of this week. And this second jab will come from the 100,000 unused doses in counties and the other 72,000 doses that Kenya received from South Sudan on Saturday. He urged all Kenyans who did get the first dose to wait for a message from the chanjo system, which will be telling them which day they will be getting the second dose. In as much as you got a message once you got the first jab, you got a message telling you which day you're supposed to get the second dose, and this is between 8 to 12 weeks after the first dose. So they are, of course, again prioritizing the essential workers. These are our health workers, security officers, and teachers for the first dose. And those who also received the second doses on Friday at the Kenyatta National Hospitals are the ones who got the first dose. So if you did not get the first dose, you will not be included in this second round of vaccination. Only those who got the first dose are going to be getting the second doses, and they're the ones who are going to be sent for messages communicating to them when and where they're going to be getting the second doses. In as much as Kenya is expecting an additional 150,000 doses from DRC through a bilateral agreement, the vaccines will not be forthcoming as the World Health Organization, supported by COVAX facility, quashed the all country-to-country plans. That was a hopeful, but as per World Health Organization, that is not going to come to life. And as such, the doses that Kenya was expecting from DRC will be redistributed to Angola and Zambia. And this is per what Dr. Akwale had to say. So Kenya is now expecting more jabs to be redistributed. This is out of a 60 million batch that is being donated by the US and other countries outside India, as well as part of countries in the European Union also donating a total of 400,000 doses. So that is where we are when it comes to the vaccination against COVID-19 with the AstraZeneca vaccine. Ray.
Woo! Talking about matters of medicine, but now we're moving away from matters of COVID-19. So, Jane, if you do not mind my asking, what blood group are you?
A positive.
You're A positive. Good.
I'm AB.
I'm AB positive too.
That is quite rare.
Yes. Now, there's this article here on this particular day that is something, and the header is, I am blood group O positive. Will you marry me? So couples should do a medical background check on hereditary diseases, cases of syphilis, abortion, and mental illness. Now, this is according to immunologist and lecturer at Egerton University, Dr. Geoffrey Kaikai. And he goes on to explain this. He says, couples rarely consider each other's blood groups, which are inherited. They can either be A, B, AB, or O positive or negative. Yeah, blood groups indeed are not a big issue for couples, not intent on raising children, but quite vital for those who are planning to have them. Now, Dr. Kaikai explains that a rhesus factor is related to protein on red blood cells. If they are proteins, one is rhesus positive or rhesus negative. So sometimes couples get married without even checking their compatibility. Now, a woman with a rhesus factor negative blood group getting married to a man who has a rhesus positive, yeah, a negative and a positive, results in a birth of a rhesus incompatible child. If unchecked, these incompatible blood groups can lead to miscarriages, neonatal deaths from hemolytic disease. That's very important for you and your person who you're intending to get a child with, or even get into a serious relationship, to actually know which blood group you belong to. So the doctor finally elaborates and says, antibodies of a woman with a rhesus pass through the placenta to the baby, and from the process of reaction, the baby may die during pregnancy. And if they survive, they will have a lot of damage on the liver and eventually pass on. So in subsequent pregnancies, the mother can also die with the development of ectopic pregnancy. So to avoid fatalities and health complications, pregnant women are screened during antenatal clinics. And Kaikai says, though the women with negative rhesus is not a major issue, as out of 10, only 15% will have a rhesus negative, of which only 1% have rhesus complications. So if you're in a serious relationship and you're thinking that in future you'd want little use running around in the house, you need to know your blood group and the compatibility. As we say, let no woman die during childbirth. That's why we're saying we're eradicating, maternal deaths. Let us not lose our child during delivery. And yes, children should not be oops babies or accidents, or what do you say, Jane? Though a majority of us as firstborns are always
firstborns and lastborns. But that particular story takes me back to high school biology. I remember our high school biology teacher, Mr. Manyara. I loved biology, and that is one of those lessons that I remember very clearly about the rhesus factor. And it's actually quite a health risk, because the woman's body considers the baby, in this case where they're not rhesus compatible, as a foreign object, and therefore the body attacks the baby, leading to miscarriages. So when we talk about compatibility, it's not about whether you make each other laugh, whether when you see your partner unasikia vivi kwa tumbo. No, compatibility goes way beyond that. It boils down to even your health as a couple. Because yesterday I was going through an article, and in Nigeria, when you are starting to date, you have to do a medical profile with the other couple very early on in the stage, because there's a very terrible sickle cell pandemic in Nigeria. So there are very many people who are carriers of the sickle cell. And once you do a screening with your partner and they see that you are a carrier, that is enough grounds to end that relationship. Not because you don't love each other, but because medically speaking, you're not compatible. And if you do continue together as a couple, you put your children at a higher risk, especially if the both of you are carriers of the sickle cell. All right? Yes.
Now, talking about sickle cell, there's also another article that follows up on issues of health and science and talks about, in particular, the issue of sickle cell with a keen focus to Kisumu County. Now, data on this particular article indicates that 80% of sickle cell patients are under 15, with an average of 5 crisis episodes annually, which require around 10 days of day or 50 days every day, to just rest. And about 1,440 of the 44,000 newborns annually in Kisumu County have sickle cell traits. This means that many children succumb undiagnosed, and 50 to 90% die before their 5th birthday.
And this goes back to you not going the step further. In as much as it's not considered normal, it's considered about what are you doing, but wanting to know your partner's family history in terms of those hereditary diseases, it's important that you have these conversations at the early stages of your relationship, if you are feeling committed to each other and you are hoping to build a family together. Because if you find both of you are carriers of a particular trait, your children will definitely get the worst of it all from the combination of both.
But you see, the reality is boy meets girl or girl meets boy.
Boy, girl fall in love.
They eat pizza or whatever. They eat pizza, mandazi, whatever. Next thing, we are living together, or if they get to church, they get married. Next
and
thing,
life goes on.
We have a child, and life moves on. Then later, when these complications start coming, we start now going back
and blaming the mother
to the medical books to check what is happening. But according here to County Health Chief Officer Dr. Gregory Ganda, he says it is true. We need to, he says that about 38,000 newborn babies are screened for sickle cell annually. And this will continue for the next 5 years. And this is to help reduce mortality among children born in Kisumu, because Kisumu, with the data that already the medical fraternity has, Kisumu County is the epicenter of sickle cell disease in Kenya. And if you're wondering about treatment, yes, there's treatment, however, a little bit costly. Now, currently, patients are seeking bone marrow transplants in East and Southern Central. Who are within East and Southern Central, or rather Central Africa, have to go all the way to India or South Africa to treatment. You can get further details as we just peruse through matters of sickle cell. I think that's also a topic that we need to handle here, Jane, here when we're talking about health. Compatibility.
Medically speaking.
Yeah, compatibility, medically speaking, what you need to look out for, even when you go for that profile, what compares with what, and what is, most important for you to look out for.
Yes, the basics that anyone can be able to handle without getting to the technicalities of it all. The basics that you need to know as a person to also know how to best protect yourself. All right? Now, let's come to the county news pull-out segment of the Daily Nation. And City Hall workers to get 175 million Kenya shillings in early retirement scheme. Now, retirement, the question of retirement has been quite the conversation in most institutions, and especially just trying to determine the age. Should they start from 55 or from 58 or 60 or 65? But now City Hall has allocated another 175 million towards the rollout of early retirement for its aged staff, as well as payment of terminal benefits that was owed to the county government retirees prior to this. And that was another 173 billion that was owed in terms of terminal benefits. So looking at the figures at City Hall, the report revealed that out of the 11,603 City Hall workers, 5,709 are over 50 years of age. All right? The total is 11,600. Out of that, 5,700 are over 50 years of age. And 19 are above the age of 60. Okay? So the report further revealed that only 792 of the employees are below the age of 35. Out of 11,000, only 792 are below the age of 35. Representing only 14% of the entire workforce in City Hall. A total of 2,712 workers are aged between 55 and 59. Those aged between 50 and 54 are 2,978. While those who are aged between 45 and 49 are 2,663. Basically, over 80%, almost 80% of the workforce at City Hall are above the age of 45. Okay? According to devolution executive, that is Veska Kagongo, said a number of the aid staff are due to retire by the end of this financial year, hence this allocation of the early retirement, and they're hoping that a majority of them are going to take it and run with it, because looking at the workforce, they ought to do better with only 14% are 35 and below, a total of 792 persons out of a whole 11,603. Not even, hey, okay, let me just leave it at that. So they have been allocated 175 million to go towards the rollout of the early voluntary retirement plan. More of that on the County News Pillar segment of the Daily Nation. Ray.
Now I'm trying to see what we do from that NHIF matters of, Let's go back to matters of human interest in regard to the killings that we have been witnessing there with human rights crusaders there questioning, are we seeing the rebirth or rather the surgence of police killer squad? Now, based on the established patterns of these killings, human rights activists fear the resurgence of a familiar squad named, remember, Kwekwe? Could be behind it. Why is this? March 13th, or rather May 13th, the date when the Somali-American businessman Bashir Mohamud went missing on his way home from Miali Lounge, Nairobi. Few days later, his remains are found somewhere. Now this has sparked fresh fears that a hit squad is involved in the extrajudicial killings in regard to the latest victim being Bashir Mohammed. So he went missing on May 13th, as I mentioned to you earlier. Following day, his body was retrieved from a river in Kirinyaga County and taken to Kerogoya Level 5 Hospital mortuary, where it was marked as unknown. Yeah, that is just one. Now, Elijah Obong, age 30, Benjamin Amache, age 30, Brian Odwar, age 36, and 37-year-old Jack Ochieng were picked up by unknown people and bundled up into two cars before being driven away on April 19th this year. And this comes after the disappearance. Since the disappearance of the four had arrived at Club Enkare in the afternoon, that is in Kitengela, ordered drinks and had lunch, but that was the last time they were seen alive. Their disappearance and subsequent killing bore some similarities with Bashir's murder. Just like Bashir, security agents indicated that the four men had been implicated in a series of crimes, especially motor vehicle theft in Nairobi and Mombasa. The killings have rekindled the memories of extrajudicial killings believed to have been carried out by the dreaded police squad codenamed Kwekwe, which was disbanded following public outcry. Based on the modus operandi and traits of the latest killings, now human rights activists believe, or rather have cause to worry over the resurgence of that. On the other hand, Interior PS Karanja Kebisho has said he would not respond to generalities and hearsay, and when asked to respond to the claims, that is according to the civil society. So the PS there says he needs direct information, or rather specific information, so that the particular arm of government can deal with the matter. Remember, these are just some of the stories that are making headlines. We read them as they happen. If you have, our feedback in regard to what we have broadcast or highlight for you, you can very well reach us on Twitter. Our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1 News. Mine is at Manyara. We have a Jain Wambui here with you in studio. So this is just a follow-up. Even our very own may her soul continue resting in peace. Betty Barrasa's murder is still under investigation, and according to this particular piece, some of the dumping sites of these bodies have often been in morgues in Nairobi Naivasha, Nanyuki, Machakos, Nakuru, Nyeri, Karatina, Murang'a and Kerugoya, while other bodies are abandoned in open fields, with notorious locations being Ngong, Magadi, Kiserian, Kangundo, Karura Forest, Kieni Forest, Nanyuki, Suswa and Athi River. We'll be keeping tabs on that, even as government, rather the arms of government, security arm of government, promises to bring the murders of, or rather perpetrators of that heinous act where Bashir Mohamud was murdered to book. We'll be keeping tabs on that, Jain.
All right, now as we draw closer and closer to the end of this particular segment, Homa Bay is at the cusp of disaster, and this is as per MSF, which warns when it comes to the rising cases in that particular county. So they raised the alarm over the surge in COVID-19 infections in Homa Bay County, and this is as a result of them being the ones that are managing the high dependency unit at the referral hospital. And they're saying that if these cases that are being detected could continue on the same trajectory that they are on, they are soon going to be overwhelmed by the cases. And this one even comes on the background of the go slow that the county health workers were on a week ago, where they downed their tools over delayed salaries, but they resumed work a week later after their salaries were paid off. And now the HDU ward at the hospital is full, with 19 patients admitted by Friday morning and only 3 beds available. Now, moving from Homa Bay, clearly COVID is still a problem. Let's go to Vietnam. And now the government in Vietnam has sounded the alarm because they have just discovered a new COVID-19 variant. And this one is a hybrid of the Indian and the British strains.
Say what?
Yes, it is a hybrid, and it is highly communicable, and it is spreading quickly by air.
Let me ask. Jumanji has how many episodes? Because we need to really know if we're writing...
Tatu.
Huh?
Now, you know there are only 4 known variants.
Yeah.
The Brazilian, the South African, the British one, and the Indian one. Now Vietnam has a hybrid, a mix of the Indian and the UK variant. And as per the health minister, he said that the characteristics of this trait is that it spreads very quickly in the air. You know, as we know it, COVID spreads through droplets. That's why you put on masks. Now this hybrid is spreading very quickly in the air. Its concentration is on the throat and throat fluids, which increases rapidly and spreads very strongly to the surrounding environment. And so far, over half of its territory has been affected by this new variant.
Do you know what I am so tempted to do right now? Is to Google and see if we have flights from Vietnam. I'm actually tempted to do so.
Where?
What are we talking about? Anyway, at the end of the day, you know, security begins with you, yeah?
Yes.
And also Kenyans need to understand that in as much as you have received vaccine, it does not give you a lifetime immunity. It just ensures that once you if you contract the virus, that you're likely not to succumb.
Or it won't be as harsh on you as someone who hasn't received the vaccine.
It doesn't mean you cannot contract the virus, and it also doesn't mean you can't spread it. So you need to mask up. You need to wash your hands thoroughly with soap and running water. You need to cough into your elbow if you need to. Avoid touching your face. You know, we need to survive this. We have so much to live for.
So much so.
I hear there's also an alert there in Mombasa now after 3 tests positive for the Indian variant. And now Vietnam is going and having variants, mutations of 2 variants.
You know, the only hybrids I know are in Vampire Diaries.
You know, where you have the wolves and that.
Yes.
Anyway, I'll keep tabs and see if we have flights from Vietnam. We need to have that. We need to be, I think, secure. And I will go to say what Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe was saying in regard to what the government has done to ensure that we do not have direct flights to India and such. It took me way back to 2020 before we confirmed our first case in March of COVID-19. And Kenyans were up in arms, especially on social media, in regard to a flight that came in ferrying over 230 people from China. You know, so I don't know why it seems as if we are shadow boxing. But at the end of the day, be an individual, be your brother's keeper. If you take care of yourself, you have definitely not only protected yourself, but also the person seated next to you there.
All right, and with that, we just want to put a cap on in the headlines, but we have so much more lined up for you. But up next is this particular feature in regards to FGM. Again, in as much as we are in the 21st century, FGM is still a reality in parts of our country, and it is up to you and I to do right by our young children and help bring this practice to an end. Stay with us.